This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Sai. Welcome, everyone. Today we have a special shiur in preparation for the Yom Tov of Pesach. We're going to talk about Achilas Afikoman, and we have a lot of material, so bear with us. We're going to try to do it snappy, and hopefully we'll get clarity regarding the inyan of Achilas Afikoman. Regarding the eating of the Afikoman, it's Machloikes Tanoim. When the Afikoman should be eaten. Okay, it's Machloikes between Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva. Well, actually, the Machloikes starts when it comes to the Korban Pesach. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah holds Korban Pesach has to be eaten by Chatzos. Rabbi Akiva says you have the whole night to eat the Korban Pesach. Now, matzah is compared to the Korban Pesach. So whenever you eat the Korban Pesach, you would have to eat the matzah. So according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, you would have to eat the matzah by Chatzos. According to Rabbi Akiva, you have the whole night to eat the matzah. Furthermore, the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim is compared to Pesach and Achilas Matzah. So according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, you would only have until Chatzos to be Mesaber B'Yitzias Mitzrayim, and according to Rabbi Akiva, you would have the whole night. That's why the famous question on the Haggadah is, Masa, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, Rabbi Tarfain, Shem Mesubim B'Bnei Brak. The question is, I understand what Rabbi Akiva was doing, speaking about Yitzias Mitzrayim the whole night, because his shita is Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim goes the whole night, because Korban Pesach is the whole night. But Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, he holds that Korban Pesach till Chatzos. So what's he doing, speaking about Yitzias Mitzrayim the whole night? He's wasting his time. It's like a guy wearing tefillin on Shabbos.
Something about time?
What? What, you're talking about Makas Fardeya? You're talking about Dayenu? Saying Dayenu is not Limanat Torah? L'chayr or not, right? Maybe but they were Mesaperim, but Yitzias Mitzrayim, they're telling the story. So his narrative, if I tell a story about Yitzias Mitzrayim, is that Torah? Pashtus not. So he should leave and go to sleep and be Mekayim the mitzvah of Oneg Yom Tov. But why is he speaking about Yitzias Mitzrayim? All the Achronim asked this question. So the Stipler would say that's why it says it was in Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak is the city of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the Mardas of Bnei Brak. And in Bnei Brak, the halacha follows him. But now we're going to talk about Afikoman, and let's see the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Taf Ayin Zayin Sif Aleph, La'achar Gemar Kol Asuda Oichlin Mimatzah Hashmura Tachas Hamapa. When you're done with the meal, you eat the matzah that's being preserved under the sheet. Kezayis Kol Echad. Everyone eats a kezayis Zeichel Pesach Hanechal Ala Soiva to commemorate the Korban Pesach, which was eaten on satiety. V'yochlenu beheseba, you have to eat the Afikoman leaning. V'lo yivarech alav. V'hi zaher la'achlai kaidem chatzos. You need to make sure to eat Afikoman before chatzos. Why? Because you have to be concerned for the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah that there is no mitzvah after chatzos. Who paskins that way? The Shulchan Aruch. Only the Shulchan Aruch. Don't worry. If it would be a minhag, people would take it very seriously. If it would be but it's only a halacha. It's only something you have to do. So, people don't get so caught up in it. But yes, you have to be, now, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't say you're chayiv to eat it. He says you should be zahir to eat it, meaning, at the very least, it's something that should be done. Okay, so the question is, many people, their sidarim, they last well into the night, and the first thing you need to know is that if somebody wants to say a gematria the night of the Seder, no. What does gematrias have to do with Yitzis? No gematrias. What about very chapi divrei Torah? Save it for the meal. Chapi divrei Torah has nothing to do with Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's not a time for pilpul. It's not a time for gematrias. It's not a time for coloring books. It's not a time for... the mitzvah is to tell the story. Everything else is a distraction. Everything else, and not only a distraction, you're going to end up being mevatel very important halachos. Namely, you have to finish Afikoman by chatzos. Not only that, the Ramah says halal also. So the question is, what do you do? What do you do if you're stuck at a seder, and they're telling you the gematria of every single word of the Haggadah? Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim they don't do, but so what do you think we're doing today?
Oh, great. That's amazing.
Yeah, you didn't see the message? So backed by popular demand, we're revisiting the Avnei Nezer. Okay, so that's the question. So Shaus Teshuvas Avnei Nezer Achaim Siman Shin Pei Hey. Okay, we're going to try to go through it quickly. And the Avnei Nezer comes from left field, by the way. His starting point is completely left field. What bracha do we make on matzah? He says, Nasati alibi la'ayin be'inyan berchas al achilas matzah ve'al achilas marar u'mei haroi hoi levarich le'echol matzah le'echol marar. The same way we say lehad, we don't say al mitzvahs tefillin, we say lehaniach tefillin. Why? Because if I say, I'm busy today. I have to go be mekayim the mitzvah today of I'll pick something else. I have to be mekayim the mitzvah of ma'is chitim today. Chaim, do me a favor. I want you to put on tefillin for me. Can you put on tefillin for me? Can't put on tefillin for me. It's a mitzvah shebegufa. It's ef shari de shliach. That's why we say lehaniach tefillin. So any mitzvah that's ef shari de shliach, we say le, not al. So why do we say al achilas matzah? I can't appoint you to eat matzah for me. V'haramban v'haran kasu be'emes bilamid lechal. The Ramban and the Ran taka say you do say le'echal matzah. You know that? But ach gir says from Shalom Perek Arba Pesachim al achilas matzah. Our gir says al. So the Levush says, since the Balabayis is moitzi everyone in the bracha of al achilas, right? You know that only one person says al achilas. Everyone says al moitzi, but only one person says al, and therefore al is only one person makes the bracha on the matzah. Therefore, al is more shayach. The only thing is, it's not true. That's not our minhag. Our minhag is v'tirat zeh eino oilol minhagenu shekol echad mevarich la'atzai. This doesn't work out according to our minhag that everyone makes the bracha themselves. Umikol makom mevarchin al. So the Chayk Yaakov says, well, we don't want to change from the lashon of the Torah, because the Torah says al matzoi sumroirim yachluhu. So the Avnei says, what? It says al matzah sumorim yochluhu the carbon Pesach. What does that have to do with al achilas matzah? Why? Because it says the word al in the pasuk, but al is not talking about eating it. Okay. We have another question. Why do we say al biur chametz? We should say livaer. Because the vadei lehaba mashma. Levaer means to destroy. By the way, when do we make the bracha levaer? The night before. Yeah? Well before we're burning the chametz. By the way, a little trivia question. What are all the brachas you only make once a year? Al bir chametz, birchas ilanos, nachem. Those are three. And those are 4 brachas you make once a year.
No.
Anyone who comes up with another one gets an extra bagel. Brachas hachama is once every 28 years. Okay, so why do we say al biur chametz? We should say levaer. You ready? Va'ayin b'tozaran ulafiani as daiti nira kivan de mitzvah is biur nasa b'hagia Pesach. When are you mekayim the mitzvah biur? Since the mitzvah biur happens when Pesach arrives, the ein habiur mitzvah misad hazman shenasa b'habiur. The mitzvah is not to burn the chametz. There's no mitzvah to burn a piece of pizza. The mitzvah is that when Pesach comes, it should have been burned. Rak mitzada Pesach sheba achar abir. V'kivan shebeyagia Pesach kvar nizbar hachametz. If when Pesach comes, the chametz has been burned, therefore it's more appropriate to say al. Because the mitzvah is not to burn it. The mitzvah is that when Pesach comes, it should have already been burned. Shaykh Yosel varch al biur. The mashma nami l'sha'avar. Al biur also has a past implication. Levaer is only for the future. And it's not true. The mitzvah is not to burn the chametz. The mitzvah is that when Pesach comes, the chametz should have been burnt. So now that we said that when we say al, when we're saying a bracha on a mitzvah that when the time comes, you want it to have already been done. Let's come back to matzah. We know according to Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah, you have to eat matzah by chatzos. V'yolef migzera shava divya avarta be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh. It says hazeh by makas b'choros. It says hazeh by matzah. Malalon ad chatzos af b'layla hazeh l'ksebachil pesach ad chatzos. V'hadavar yipla. You ready for the kasha of the Avnei Nezer? Think about the gzera shava. Just like makas b'choros was exactly at chatzos, so too achilas matzah has to be before chatzos? Is that gzera shava? Just like God slew the firstborn precisely at the moment of chatzos, so too you need to eat the matzah by chatzos? That's not similar. It should be just like God slew the firstborn exactly at the moment of chatzos. You need to eat the matzah exactly at the moment of chatzos. So basically, you should get a gun license, and instead of matzah, you should get matzah pellets, and have somebody exactly on a timer, exactly at the moment of chatzos, bam, straight down your mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach. This way you can be mekayim chatzos. So you say, but it's muksa. But when it's not, that's efshar b'inyan acher. But why how can you make a gzera shava? Just like makas chos is exactly at chatzos, achilas matzah is by chatzos? The tzarech leimar must be kivan di'i efshar lecha b'chatzos mamish. Since it's impossible to eat it exactly at chatzos, she'ein by hemshach zman klal, because exactly at chatzos doesn't take any time, and to eat a kazayis matzah it takes some time. V'hamaisa tzarech hemshach zman al karchach haperush shebechatzos is not by chatzos. Something has to happen exactly at chatzos. What is it? You ready for this? It has to be that it has been eaten. When the moment of chatzos, it has to have been eaten. V'chein b'matzah diyolaf min Pesach v'kol shkein morar, that it says by Pesach. Now that we learned that the mitzvah of there is no mitzvah to eat matzah, there's no mitzvah to eat Pesach. It's when the zman comes, you had to have already eaten it. So therefore we say al. Not le. Why?
Yaitza by chatzos, essentially.
What?
You're yaitza the mitzvah by chatzos.
When chatzos comes, you have to make sure you have already eaten it. And then you're yaitza. The mitzvah is not to eat the matzah. The mitzvah is that by the time chatzos comes, I wouldn't say that. The mitzvah is to eat the matzah. But since the source of the time is chatzos, which means not just you have to eat it by chatzos, but when chatzos comes, you have to make sure it has been eaten. Kivan de mitzvahs matzah umarar shebegia chatzos yekfar nechal yoiser tov levarich al. Now,
would be if let's say somebody says al bir chametz, then he dies, and then the next day before Pesach before
somebody says
somebody makes a bir chametz, it's a bracha, and then he dies. So l'chayr, if he's only yaitza later, then it was l'chayr bracha levatala.
Yeah, according to Nezer, it was a bracha levatala, which is a chiddush, which is pashas not. The mitzvah is.
But when it hits, even if he's not there, it's still going to hit. Time's still going to hit.
But he's not alive. I'm saying he can't be yaitza mitzvahs already.
But that time more. No, but
you're saying it's not mafreya.
That's what the Rav said.
Next step, okay?
How do we learn from B'chayros? What shaykhs?
Just like Makas B'chayros, okay? Just like Makas, the source of the Zman of when you eat matzah is learned at Hazeh from Makas B'chayros. Makas B'chayros is exactly at Chatzos. So now we're learning Achias Matzah. You have to make sure when exactly Chatzos comes, you have already eaten it. But still, the question is, it's not exactly parallel, because here it happened exactly Chatzos, and by matzah, we're not requiring you to eat it exactly at chatzos. Says Avnei Nezer. Now this explains a very interesting phenomenon. There's no halacha that after you shake a lulav and esrog, you need to be feeling vibrations in your hand until chatzos, until the next day. In other words, there's no such mitzvah that when it comes to shaking a lulav and esrog, the sensation of shaking your hand has to continue for a full day. So what's this inyan that by Afikoman you have to make sure that the taste of the Afikoman remains in your mouth for a while? Why do you need to be tasting Afikoman? You don't have to, let's say, when you eat in the sukkah, you don't have to preserve the taste of achila in the sukkah. When there's a mitzvah of kachim, we don't say don't use Listerine after you eat the kachim. You have to keep the taste of the kachim in your mouth. What's this inyan? You have to have the taste of Afikoman in your mouth till chatzos. Says Avnei Nezer, since the source of the zman of achilas Afikoman is, it says chatzos by makas b'chayros, it says chatzos by achilas Pesach. So technically speaking, you should have to eat the Pesach exactly at chatzos, but you can't do that. So at the very least, when chatzos comes, the taste needs to still be in your mouth. The Avnei Nezer is the first one to explain the reason why you don't drink apple juice after. I remember from when I was a kid, the Seder was over, it was 12:30, and I asked my grandmother, I need to have apple juice. So you can't drink apple juice after the Afikoman. So I said, what am I supposed to drink? She says, water. I said, what? What's water? Water? No, I don't drink water. She didn't let me have apple juice. So I remember, Ein maftirin achar haPesach Afikoman. That's my memory of it. Anyway, what?
You should not be allowed to drink water. You should be only allowed to eat matzah. After chatzos, you should be allowed to only eat matzah. No water, nothing. Because water also will flush it.
Water doesn't take out the taste.
It actually does. I mean, according to the wine world stuff.
You mean because the water today, the pH of the water is very acidic, so you should have only smart water. They were loy plug, yeah. But the question is, why are you allowed to have the third and fourth cup? Right, you're allowed to have wine. Wine doesn't take away the matzah. Anybody who knows the taste of matzah knows somehow we have both tastes at the same time. Yeah. Okay, so therefore, why? She'aso lecha la'achar Pesach ulahanal yesh lefarish kivan sheha mitzvah b'hagia chatzos. Since the mitzvah is when chatzos comes, imkein tzarich sheyeh tam Pesach oz bepiv. You need to have the taste of the Pesach then in your mouth. Shelo yeh kala achilas Pesach mikol v'kol, so that the taste of the Karm Pesach has not dissipated. Al karchach sheyeh tam matzah oz v'yishar oz roshim meha mitzvah. Now that we're learning that the source of the zman of achilas Pesach is hazeh, and technically speaking, you should have to eat it exactly at chatzos. But since that's impossible, at the very least, you need to have eaten it by chatzos. Now we understand the reason why the taste of the Pesach has to be in your mouth, because if you can't eat it exactly then, at the very least, it should still be in your mouth. Here's the whopper. V'alkein, nira ladina, halach lemaisa, leman de'amar ein haPesach nechal ela ad chatzos. According to the opinion, namely Rabbi Glatstein Azariah and the Shulchan Aruch, that you must eat the Pesach and the matzah and the Afikoman by chatzos, v'u'adin matzah, dela'achar, achar chatzos muter lechol. You're allowed to eat food after chatzos. Says Avnei Nezer, according to Rabbi Glatstein Azariah, who holds you have to eat the matzah and the Afikoman by chatzos, and you have to have the taste of the Afikoman in your mouth until chatzos. When chatzos comes, you're allowed to eat roast beef, and you can eat whatever you want. Why? Because there's no din you need to go to sleep with the taste of matzah in your mouth. The din is, when chatzos comes, you need to be, tasting the matzah. And at 12:01, you don't have to taste the matzah anymore. That, by the way, that's a chiddush naira. That line alone is a chiddush naira. Who says that's the reason why you have to have the taste of matzah in your mouth? I grew up thinking the reason is because you did a mitzvah, you want it to be beloved to you. You want to wake up at 2 a.m. tasting matzah, or 4 a.m. or 9 a.m. You want to, basically, by 11:45, when you're ready to wash, you want to still be tasting the matzah from the night before. No, the Avnei Nezer says, where'd you get that? You made that up. The reason is, it's Gzeira Shava. That's why you have to have the taste of matzah in your mouth. That exactly at the moment of chatzos, you need to be tasting the matzah. When chatzos is over, then you're allowed to eat. Ubelav hachi nirakain. Even without my chiddush, it would seem this. Devade ein chiyav sheyishar tam pesach umatzah befiv rak bizman mitzvah. B'chlal, even without my chiddush, that you need to be tasting the matzah because something has to be going on exactly at chatzos. It's not mistaber that you have to be tasting matzah. Well, I have a question. And Lag Ba'omer also, you should be tasting the matzah in your mouth. When exactly do you need to be stopped tasting the matzah? When does it? When they bench tal? When they sell their third aliyah? When exactly do you need to stop tasting the matzah? L'chayra, it only makes sense. You have to taste the matzah in the zman of the mitzvah. V'al kain, therefore, nira, dim betchilas hasuda. Let's say in the beginning of the meal, or be'emtza, or in the middle of the meal. I would say by dayenu. If your kid came to the table with like a tome, this size of Divrei Torah, and this Seder is going to 3 a.m. There's not a chance in the world you're making chatzos. So if you see that it's karoiv l'chatzos, you know what you do? Yoichal kezayis. Now he's talking about a case where you already ate the kezayis matzah before the first kezayis before chatzos. There is no heter to delay the achilas matzah after chatzos. It's a suffix da'iraisa. I don't care what gematria they taught them in school. Take the book, tell them tomorrow by the meal, they could read the whole book. Not at the Seder. There is no shita, opinion, view that you're allowed to eat the kezayis matzah after chatzos. It's a suffix da'iraisa. The whole, there's only one mitzvah of achila da'iraisa the whole year, and you better make sure to do it before chatzos. We're talking only about Afikoman. Nobody's lenient by the kezayis of achilas matzah. So if you see in middle of the meal is going late, and I'm going to blow eating the Afikoman before chatzos, you do as follows. Now this, I don't love this eitzah, because I don't have room for the achil kezayis of matzah and the Afikoman to bat. Now I'm going to have to eat 3 kezayisim. I'm going to eat the matzah, I'm going to eat the Afikoman before the meal. So this is what you do. Yoichal kezayis matzah al tanai. You say like this. Im halacha kereb Elazar ben Azariah. If the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, then yeh l'shem Afikoman. This matzah that I'm eating is for Afikoman. Then you're going to eat it. Look at your clock. And as soon as 12:01 hits, when I say 12:01, I mean whatever chatzos is. Now I'm free to eat the meal. I am now to eat after the Afikoman. I am, according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, because the mitzvah is already over. V'yamtin ala achar chatzos, v'yoichal sudasai, v'achar kach yoichal shenis Afikoman, v'yoitzim iman nefshach. Now you're yoitzim iman nefshach. Im halachik Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah ad chatzos, I was yoitzim with the first Afikoman, and now after chatzos mutar lechol dvar macherim. V'im halachik Rabbi Akiva da'ad sheyala amar hashachar, then I'll be yoitzim with the Afikoman sheni.
Verbalizing this today?
Do I?
You have to verbalize this today?
Do you have to verbalize it? First of all, Tukar, you want to know if I do this? No. I usually don't have to do it. I usually try to make chatzos for the Afikoman. I usually try to stam. You want the kids to be up for Ran Gamliel Hay Omer. You want them to. So, we what do? We say the Haggadah. We translate. I try to translate most of the stuff. As I'm saying, I read a line, I translate. Read a line, translate. People chime in. You're on a shot clock, and by the meal you could. You want the kids to stay up for Gamliel Hay Omer, for matzah.
But tonight you have to verbalize, or it could be
tonight. Let's see. Look in the Brisker Rav. Look at number 3. Amnam Nira. Amnam Nira dim nitzbois kedivrei ho Avnei Nezer beikar hayesoid. The achar she'avar zman hamitzvah lo bina tam matzah v'hadin shel ein maftirin einoi imkein ein tzarich lahasnas klal because I she'echel kadam chatzos. You don't have to make a tanai. There's no tanai. Mishum do shach klal achilo l'shem Afikoman. You don't have to eat l'shem and Afikoman. Because what's an Afikoman? Is the last kezayis that you eat. That's what's an Afikoman. You don't need das. So before chatzos you eat a kezayis matzah. You don't have to make a tanai. You don't have to be masned if the halacha is until chatzos, this is my Afikoman. And then after chatzos I'm allowed to eat. And then I eat another one. The Brisker Rav says, tanaim are necessary. Afikoman is the last kezayis that you eat. So eat a kezayis before chatzos, meaning besides the matzah before the meal, and then you'll eat another one after. Now, by the way, I just want to share with you two things briefly. Hopefully we can do it very briefly. Moshe Feinstein did not hold the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer. Moshe says the Tanai doesn't help. Moshe says, Maran in the Haggadah Shel Pesach of Moshe Feinstein, he brings that he did not hold the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer. He says it doesn't help. It was not niskabel b'chol hamakoymos, and Rav Moshe was makbid to have the to eat the Afikoman before chatzos. Rav Pam would say that under these conditions, your wife worked very hard, and she slaved away making a beautiful meal. And what are you going to tell her? No, I don't hold the Avnei Nezer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat a kazayas matzah. I'm going to eat a kazayas amara. I'm going to eat the kairech. We're going to skip your meal. What you've been cooking for a month. We're going to skip the meal, and we're going to go straight to the Afikoman, and we're going to call it a night. You can't do that to her. Can't do it to her. It's not right. Rely on the Avnei Nezer. Rav Moshe said it's very nice. You want to be a nice guy. You have plenty of times to be a nice guy before Pesach. Tell her before. Don't cook. Don't cook for the Seder. Not all of a sudden now you want to be a nice guy. The rest of the year you're a grouch and a grump. All of a sudden you become a Baal Midah at the expense of halacha. You want to be a Baal Midah's taivos. No, you could be, if you're nice the whole year, you'll be able to get away with following the halacha the night of the Seder. That's Rav Moshe Shita. Rav Moshe says you can't rely on the Avnei Nezer. Rav Pam suggested that to rely on the Avnei Nezer. But if you're going to a program somewhere, your wife isn't cooking, and actually she wants to go to sleep. So the whole heter to rely on the Avnei Nezer is, you're showing courtesy to her. She's like, I don't need to eat. I mean, it's for you. You don't want to eat. Let's, Now,
the tea room.
What, the tea room?
Yeah.
What do you mean the tea room?
You want to participate in the tea room.
Oh, you want to participate? Now, what exactly was Rav Moshe's issue with the Avnei Nezer? Let's try to see very quickly. Okay, you ready? Cool. Let's try to do this very quickly. By the way, there are a lot of questions. By the way, when we're learning Yevamis, how could you make a Tanai? There's a klal, kol milsa de lesa b'shlichus lesa b'tanai. Anything you can appoint a shliach to do, you can stipulate in. Now, I can't appoint a shliach to eat the Afikoman for me. Halavai, I could imagine, you sit at the table, there are like 9 guys at the table. Who are they? No, there's an app. You could hire people. So I hired one guy to eat the Afikoman, one guy to eat the matzah, one guy to eat the maror. There's a maror eater. I mean, now they were advertising a throne rental. Abel, come on. Yeah? Throne rental. But you could rent a throne.
Yesterday.
I don't know if they delivered to Florida. I'm sure.
But here's my chiddush. Here's my chiddush. Ready? First there was an ad, full page, like silver she'en kamayu. Then 7 pages of different bekashas. 7 pages of bekashas. Silver bekashas. Silver, silver, silver. And then finally, and this topped it off, full page ad for debt relief. Okay, so that's all you need to know. Okay, so let's see Rav Moshe's problem with Avnei Nezer. Let's read it quickly inside. Aval ikar mashakasav de Rav Glatstein Azaria leka isur achila el ad chatzos. Right? What's Avnei Nezer's main chiddush? The main chiddush is, according to Rav Glatstein Azaria, you're allowed to eat after chatzos. The isur of tasting after the Afikoman is only after chatzos. V'achar kach rasham lechel v'afilu matzos. Shehu deloi kal hamakubel b'chal hamakoymos she'achar Afikoman asur lechel layla. Rav Moshe says it is not makubel. In other words, not going to help. What are you going to do? You're going to eat the first Afikoman, then you ate after it. No, according to Rav Nazar, you're only not allowed to eat after before chatzos. Who told you that? You're not allowed to eat the whole night. Even the Avnei Nezer is mashma. Shegam etzla hu chiddush l'maisa. That even for him it's a chiddush l'maisa. Daharei mitchila amar zeh rak l'chidushai. First he only said it as a chiddush. So Rav Nazariah hu be'etzem ikar hamitzvah berega de chatzos mamish. That according to Rav Nazariah, be'etzem the ikar mitzvah is exactly at chatzos. V'rak mikivan she avshel le'inyan hametzias lecha b'chatzos mamish. First he said, since it's not shaykh and metzias to eat something exactly at chatzos, therefore al kein ha'peiros sheb'chatzos. First he says is that it should have already been eaten, and then he says that's the reason it's usher to eat after the Pesach. so that at the moment of chatzos, the taste should be in your mouth. Okay, so the first step of the Avnei Nezer is that since it's impossible to eat exactly at chatzos, at least when chatzos comes, you want the taste to be in your mouth. Ach shahoisef achar kach, de belav hachi nami nirakein. Then he says, it's logical. It's only logical that the taste has to be in your mouth in the time of the mitzvah. Which is mashma, that only once he was mechadesh, the teretz of al, and not li, therefore he said, at the time of chatzos, the Pesach should be eaten, and that's why we say al, and now he was mechadesh, according to his answer, that the Isser Achil is only till Chatzos. And then he says, Belav Hachi, the Isser, in other words, let's think carefully. The Avnei Nezer's question is, why do we say Al Achilas Matzah and not Le? And the answer is, first he says, because when Chatzos comes, you need to have eaten it already. And then he says, that's the reason why we make sure that the taste is in our mouth exactly at Chatzos. And then he says, that's the reason why you're not allowed to eat afterwards. But that only applies, what? Until Chatzos, not after Chatzos. So Moshe asks a very simple question. According to Rabbi Akiva, are you allowed to eat after Afikoman?
No.
No. Why?
It's called
Why? But if the whole reason why you're not allowed to eat after the Afikoman is so that the taste should be in your mouth exactly at Chatzos, since it's not possible to eat it exactly at Chatzos, at least the taste will be in your mouth exactly at Chatzos. That only works in the world of Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah. That doesn't make any sense in Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Akiva, there should be no reason why you can't eat after the Afikoman. Elamai, the reason is that the Torah wants you to show love for the mitzvah, not to eat afterwards. So then in Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah, also, you should not be able to eat the whole night. He says, V'nischadesh loy kishehemek yosef shegam belav hachi eno isra Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah ela ad chatzos shaloi kedenohag hu atzmai va'avoisav v'chal adoros ha'koidmen. This chidush, that according to Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah, the isra of eating is only until chatzos. The Avnei Nezer never did like that in Sachachav, and all the Sachachav people never did that for many generations. Shezeh tamua lismeich al svara ba'alma neged kol hadoros. You can't just rely on some svara against all the generations, even if it's a clear svara. Especially this svara, Rav Moshe says is shvacha maisas. And then Rav Moshe says further, even his answer that we're mavarich al is tamua, because I have a question. The answer of al only works in Rabbi Glatstein ben Azariah. Why does Rabbi Akiva say you say al? The mitzvah is the whole night. There's no nekuda misuyemes it has to be eaten by. The tzarachi and kol divrei hagoyin bal Avnei Nezer b'tshuvazu. The whole Avnei Nezer is tamua. Moshe says you can't rely on it. So bottom line is like this. If you have your own Seder, and you could do everything like in a test tube, in the most ideal possible way, there's no question, you should try to make sure to eat the Afikoman and say Hallel before Chatzos. Now that's not possible for many people. Either they're sitting at someone else's Seder, or there are factors that are not completely within their control. They have a big family. The Haggadah takes time until they get home. So then, under those circumstances, try to rely on the Avnei Nezer. But, in other words, but just to go indiscriminately and say, well, I'll eat the Afikoman after Chatzos. It's not al-Chachila. It's for sure, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, you need to try to eat the Afikoman by Chatzos. So therefore, if you're in a situation where you're not going to be able to eat the Afikoman by Chatzos, and the meal is heading, you start your meal with an additional kazayis of matzah, wait till Chatzos, and then you can have your meal and eat another one. Okay, that's the Avnei Nezer in a nutshell. Have a great day, everyone. Hatzlacha Rabbah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.